Hello everyone, we are Group 46. Today we will present analysis of TLS and end-to-end email encryption. We will first introduce TLS and PGP, then we will analyze TLS and PGP, followed by challenges and applications of TLS and PGP. Over the years, emails have evolved into one of the most widely used communication channels for both individuals and organizations, with over 3.7 billion accounts in 2017, predicted to reach over 4.3 billion in 2023. To protect the security of emails, various encryption solutions have been developed. These approaches can be categorized as two: TLS and end-to-end encryption. TLS is an encryption protocol designed to secure internet communications. A TLS handshake is a process that kicks off a communication session that uses TLS encryption. During a TLS handshake, the two communicating sides exchange messages to acknowledge each other, verify each other, establish the encryption algorithms they will use, and agree on session keys. TLS handshakes occur after a TCP connection has been opened by a TCP handshake. PGP encryption uses a serial combination of hashing, data compression, symmetric key cryptography, and finally public key cryptography. Each step uses one of several supported algorithms. Each public key is bound to a username or an email address. The first version of this system was generally known as a web of trust to contrast with the PKI system. So what is a web of trust? Web of trust is a concept used in PGP and other OpenPGP compatible systems to establish the authenticity of the binding between a public key and its owner. It's a decentralized trust model, and it's an alternative to the centralized trust model of public key infrastructure, which relies exclusively on a certificate authority. Next, comparison. PGP is a set of services used in electronic communications and data storage, while TLS is a protocol used to establish secure communications. Technically speaking, any secure communication tunnel provides encryption between two ends, but the term end-to-server encryption protects messages in transit between the user and to service provider, while end-to-end encryption is usually applied to messaging services, or more generally, the secure communication between users of a service, but not between a user and the service provider itself. Given an example, if you are sending an encrypted email using end-to-end encryption, you know that nobody but the intended recipient can read it, not even the service providers. As for the trust model, traditional TLS uses PKI for key management, which is a centralized trust model, while PGP uses Web of Trust as a decentralized trust model. Next, Sky will talk more about analysis of these two encryption solutions.
Hi, this section will illustrate what security properties TLS and PGP can and cannot provide. The secure properties that TLS and PGP can provide are confidentiality, integrity, and authentication properties. The primary goal of TLS is to provide a secure channel between two communicating peers. As we have seen from the previous section, TLS is divided into record protocol and handshake protocol. Firstly, as for the handshake protocol, it is responsible for selecting a cipher spec and generating a master secret, which together compress the primary cryptographic parameter associated with a secure session. The handshake protocol can also optionally authenticate parties who have certificates signed by a trusted certificate authority. Authentication and secret key exchange occur at this layer and provide authentication and integrated properties. As for the record protocol, takes messages to be transmitted, fragments the data into manageable blocks, optionally compresses the data, applies an MAC, encrypts, and transmits the result. Note in particular that type and lines of record are not protected by encryption. Data encryption occurs in this protocol and confidentiality is provided. As for the PGP, PGP is a typical end-to-end message encryption program. For instance, Alice writes a message and Bob sends a message to Bob. Alice uses a combination of symmetric and asymmetric key algorithms are able to support the confidentiality and integrity objectives. Generally, the symmetric key scheme is only used to encrypt the communicative message between Alice and Bob. since the computational expense of public key scam is expensive. This process provides confidentiality property, and then this email message will be signed using the private key from a suitable public key signature algorithm before sending to the bulb. It achieves the integrity requirement. In this case, a session key generated by key distribution center is not only used with a symmetrical key scheme to encrypt a message, but also the session key is encrypted using one or more public keys. And then the encrypted message along with each encrypted session key are delivered to Bob. This process can satisfy the authentication requirement. So next, the Rose will talk about the challenge and application.
Thanks, Guy. Next, I will analyze the challenge. For the analog credential network, it's a problem. And for efficiency, PGP use RSA. It is more time-consuming than the elliptic curve cryptography on the same level of security. Next, we will look at application. For Gmail, it mainly uses transport layer security by default. Google accepts three types of cipher. The first is a key exchange algorithm to exchange a key between two devices, and the bulk encryption algorithm to encrypt the data over the TLS connection, and the MIC algorithm to verify the data has not been changed in transit. For implementation of TLS, Google used Boring SSL. Boring SSL is a fork of OpenSSL. This table compares it with OpenSSL. As far as you could see, Boring SSL is more lightweight. It saves more compile time. And as TLS mainly use AES CBC, it has high demand on the random number generation. Boring SSL use urandom, which serves as a pseudo-random number generation. However, OpenSSL is more complicated. It uses entropies as a measure of randomness, and it will consider the PID and the time type. Boring SSL is more secure than OpenSSL. Boring SSL has hidden visibility by default, but the OpenSSL has no such setting. The second application is for Sandbird. It mainly uses OpenPGP. For implementation, it uses GNU-PG as an open source implementation. It has two key features. The first is the strong key management system. As the table below shows, the key revocation, key centralization, and key information could be achieved easily with a command line argument. The next is the flexible true system. The user does not require to personally validate each import key. They could just verify the key's fingerprint. And there is an extension called Ngmail to support email encryption, decryption, and authentication. In summary, we compare between TLS and PGP, and we do a security analysis between the TLS and PGP and see two applications in real life. That's all. Thanks for listening.